Hey, you're back. Welcome to Season 2 of The People We Meet. My name is Ty Brunner, and I'll be your host. This is a show about ordinary people that have done extraordinary things. I'm glad you're here, and let's get on with it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The People We Meet. Today, I'm talking with Angela Fletcher. Angela is a gardener, and she took on a job at my house, and I spoke with her for about 5 minutes, and I realized that I wanted her to be on my show. We started talking about the American dream, and Angela worked in a corporate level Fortune 500 company and walked away from it to go be a gardener. And this is her story. Angela, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Well, happy to be here.
Everything starts right at the beginning. Angela, where were you born?
I was actually born here at Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, Washington. Both my parents were in the Air Force. My mother was in, but my dad had just gotten out. So, yeah, I was born here.
What year were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
1979.
Okay. So born on Fairchild. So you were a military brat.
Yep.
And
well, for a short time. Not like you would know, like people are like, yeah, we moved around following the military. My mother, after I was born, 3 months old, my mother was stationed in England. And we were only there for 2 years when my parents got divorced. So my father brought us back here to the States and landed in California.
And so he was in the Air Force too?
He had just gotten out.
Okay.
So my mother was in, so she couldn't leave.
Gotcha.
But he brought us back here to the States and got custody of us.
Okay. And where in California were you?
Lancaster, Palmdale area.
And how old were you at that point?
I was 18 months when we boarded that plane.
Oh, so really little.
Really little.
Okay. And so formative years down in California?
Yes, until about 8 years old. And then we moved up here to Washington because my dad got a job at an insurance company, Safeco Insurance in Redmond. Mm-hmm. He came up here and opened their office in Redmond. And so we moved to Edmonds, Washington at about 8 years old.
What kind of kid were you?
A hyper, feral, very feral.
In what way?
Well, a single father. You know, there was 4 of us, 2 boys and 2 girls. I was the youngest. Mm-hmm. So not a lot of instruction, not a lot of attention, just kind of, I don't really remember a lot. I just remember that he met somebody when I was about 4 years old who he married, and she was our babysitter at first. I do remember that. But she was actually not a very good stepmom. So there was a lot of trauma from 4 to around 8, 9 years old when he actually divorced her. Oh. So lots of dark stuff. She had a lot of mental illnesses, probably borderline personality, bipolar, and they had 2 kids during that time. So she had 8 children, 4 of which were feral. Mm-hmm. And I can understand how a woman can go mad at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. So was it mental or like?
What do you mean?
Well, you mentioned the trauma. Are you talking about like mental trauma?
I would say mental, physical, and emotional. Because, 4 to 9,
yeah,
such prominent years in a child.
Yes.
So lots and lots of trauma.
Do you have any role models during that time?
Not during that time. Mm-mm.
What about safe places? Like what were places that you felt comfortable going, whether it was at school or after school activity or sports?
Nowhere at all. I was so young. The best I could tell you is that I would get on my big wheel and ride down to the fort and that we would make as kids, and that's about it. I didn't get role models or safe places until about 6th grade.
What was that?
I had an amazing school counselor. Mm-hmm. Her name was Cindy, and she actually connected with me. Of course, I was a child and was acting out and doing all these things, but she saw through all that. And she actually followed me through junior high, all the way up. She's always been in my life, but she was she was somebody that taught me that there could be people to trust.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that was the beginning of my healing, I think.
And that was, what grade was that?
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade.
And then she became my lunch buddy in junior high, which was 7th and 8th.
Mm-hmm.
By freshman year, I was way out there. I was running away. I was, messing with drugs and boys, and I was quite wild at that age.
And what do you attribute that to?
Childhood trauma and a parent that was pretty much emotionally inept.
So you mentioned that you were ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
ADHD regardless, or is it nature versus nurture?
I didn't know that I was ADHD until my adult years. I didn't in fact, I don't think we even knew what that was back then.
Yeah, you were just hyperactive.
Hyperactive, very intuitive, very, I could read people even then, but, trauma will do that with a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn body language because the stepmom, you never knew what she was going to be from one minute from the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had all these things, a lot of trauma, a lot of things I needed to work through, but nobody to help me with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's just move on to from 14 to when I was 16, then I got pregnant.
Oh.
Which changed everything.
Sure.
I stayed home. I had the baby. Would have been my sophomore year I had him. But I went and got my GED and I had my son. But that was stressful in itself. I was a scared mom, super scared. I mean, I have this young kid and I knew how horrible the world was. So I was overprotective, but at the same time dealing with the trauma I had already. And then during that time, about a year after my son was born, I was discovering my own sexuality at that point. And I kind of went out. I went out and I started drinking and then learning, going to Seattle to where it was okay to be gay or lesbian or whatever. I don't even think I had a label back then. Probably bi was the first thing because it always is.
Well, yeah, because if you... that's probably the first thing that they're going to attach if you...
Right, if you needed a label at all, right?
Yeah, especially if you have a kid to prove it.
Right. Having him was a huge trigger.
Sure.
I have to say thank God for my dad because he stepped in when I could no longer step in. So about 15 months old, I stepped out of his life. And I ended up getting into the drug scene really, really bad. My first drug was at 14 years old with marijuana, which, marijuana is marijuana. But by the time after I had him, I went from marijuana to alcohol and then alcohol to methamphetamines and from methamphetamines to cocaine and then from cocaine to crack. Thank God I never touched the heroin, but you can see how fast an addiction can get really in 15 months.
Yeah.
15 months is when I ended it myself.
How was it changing it from the time that you started to the end of that 15 months? What did you notice? Like, how did your life change? How did your body change? And who was taking care of your kid?
Well, my dad was taking care of my son. I left. I went to Everett, Washington, which is famously known as Casino Road, which was always known as the drug road in Everett, Washington. And I was just in it. I was in it. And when you're in it, the only thing you think about is your next fix.
Yeah.
And you're not really thinking about long term. You're thinking about very short term. You don't really feel anything. And as an addict, you don't even realize how far you got until you're ODing. So I got to the point where I was so drugged out that we were losing our apartment. And it was either go back to my dad's or go to the streets. And so by the third time ODing, I sought help.
So what do you mean OD? Like
overdose.
I know what that means, but
Okay.
I mean, were you dead? And because...
No, my overdoses were blackouts.
Okay.
You don't eat for so long that you spinning. you don't remember. I mean, I had a girlfriend at the time who didn't do any drugs or anything, and she actually wrote it down for me, and I still have it to this day. What happened in the worst OD I had, because I was doing crystal, meth, cocaine, and crack cocaine all in one night. And I don't remember 4 days of it, but I do remember flashes, like thinking there was hair growing on my hands or bugs in my hands, and nobody would give me a razor blade, like all these things that scared me. And I knew my son was young, and I was scared something was going to happen.
So what was the trigger point? What caused you to, what was the turning point?
My son was over. And I had passed out, and he was bailing water out of the bathtub so much. I don't know how long I was out, but the downstairs neighbor, water was flooding into their apartment. So banging on the door, and I woke up, and that scared me. And that was it. That was it. That was the last time I was going to allow him around me, one. And two, I started calling people. I had a girlfriend who got clean like 90 days earlier, so I called her first. And then this great couple, Lori and Bev, who were helping her. One's a counselor and the other's a teacher. And they picked me up and they took me to a meeting. And then the second time they picked me up after the meeting, they drove me to detox and offered me help. So I took it. It scared me. I was hyperventilating.
Scared to go, yeah.
Right. Of course, I was high as a kite. But that was the first step into recovery. Now that I stayed clean long enough to go to a treatment center. But that treatment center, I was just so mentally my brain chemistry was way off. It was never going to work.
Sure.
So I didn't make it on that one. I actually left that treatment center early because my dad talked me into it. He never really wanted me to go to treatment.
Why didn't he want you?
Because he wanted me to take care of my kid. Denial, maybe?
Yeah.
It's very curious, isn't it? I had to force him to take me. I threatened, I think, bodily harm if he didn't. So I left that treatment center because they put me on tranquilizers and pharma meds and that was like blew my mind. So
treat you for drugs with more drugs.
Right. Right. So I was tranked. So, and I'm not good with pharma. Not good with pills like that. It made me sick but I got out and I went back to work, and I tried 6 months later. I'm back out smoking crack.
What was your job at that time?
I worked for Alfie's Pizza as a kitchen manager, and I was really good at it. But I couldn't stay clean.
And then, yeah.
So I got fired for not showing or being late or not showing up. I don't know. Probably was spun out or something. But I left that. I got fired, and I went straight down to a place called Pacific Treatment Alternatives, which was in Everett, Washington. And I told them I'm going to get a really big paycheck, and I'm probably going to kill myself with it. So I need a bed. And they got me a bed within 24 hours. I got to a great treatment center, and this one clicked. They had classes. They taught you about what the drugs were doing to your body. They had a courtyard. They can play sports. You can go running around a track. You can, it was a really awesome treatment center, and my counselor was A1.
So it was less clinical and more, that's just kind of what I'm
It was
gathering.
like a school.
Yeah.
The other place was 2 hallways and a courtyard. All they cared about was a paycheck, I think, Like,
here's the treatment, here's the bed.
Here's morning meditation, sit in your room the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Of course it wasn't going to help me. I mean, I'm ADHD. I can't sit in a room and be in 2 hallways. I was going nuts. No wonder they tranked me.
Imagine.
Right. So it was a good treatment center.
Okay.
It was a good one. And I really enjoyed learning about the brain and how it worked.
Yeah.
And they didn't let you have caffeine. but you can have coffee, and they had really good food, like 5-course meals, because addicts don't eat, so they fed you really well.
Decaf coffee?
Yeah, you can put some chocolate milk in it, and that's got a little bit of chocolate, But no, we're there to get clean. We're not there to, you can have your cigarettes, but we're there to get clean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what blew my mind with that other place, how they just took me to the hospital and put me on tranquilizers. So one drug for another, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and how long was the program?
The first one was only a 28-day program.
Not that one, the one that's working.
This one was 30 days. And as I was learning and growing, and I still felt after the 30 days I wasn't ready. So I opted to go to a recovery house in Bellingham, Washington for 60 days, which was great. I had a mountain bike. You go to morning meditation, do your counseling, and I could ride my bike. And I basically mountain biked the whole time. Like I would go out there and I'd go to the ocean, I would reflect, and I started chairing Narcotics Anonymous meetings. It really stuck.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the 60 days was up, I had a security job, and I got an apartment of my own, and recovery was from then on out.
Good.
So yeah.
That guidance counselor, was that person still in your life at this point, or had you?
We don't talk often, but yes, we still connect here and there.
And was she then during this period?
No.
Yeah.
Which was probably smart. Because when an addict is in the throes of addiction, you can be there for them, but she had boundaries. She was healthy. She needed to step out. I never was upset with her about that. I knew, and as an adult now and gone through everything, that's the smartest thing to do. You can either sit there and let them hurt you, or you can step out and be there when they're ready.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I really, really respected her for that. And I wasn't good for anybody. And, you don't want to become an enabler for an addict.
Right.
You have to set boundaries. Otherwise, how are you going to learn boundaries yourself?
So things are going well.
Yep. So things are going well. And from then on, I was just working. I was working the pizzeria. I had met my partner in 2023. So that means I was 23 years old. And then we ended up being together for like 6 years, raising my son and doing the whole thing. I switched a lot of jobs. I went through debt collection. I was a debt collector for on and off for 15 years. And then I did grocery. And then, I've gone all the way up from specialty foods. And then I started working graveyard at Fred Meyer with my partner. Until it got to the point where we went to Costa Rica, and I was only making $13.50 an hour. All those jobs, you can't even get a good paycheck. You're always struggling. The prices were always just getting higher, and the stress just getting higher. And I burnt my house down. Costa Rica was beautiful. I saw people with less than I could ever dream happy. And I felt their energy, and I felt the energy of being free like that. And so about 5 months later, I left her abruptly. I sold everything I owned, including the car.
So you left your partner?
I left everything.
Oh.
It was brutal.
Why did you leave her?
Because I couldn't do the mundane in and out, that normal people do, You go to work, you come home, nothing's changing. You're in a dead-end job.
So she was okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
So you're down in Costa Rica with her, right? And she's seeing all the same things that you're seeing.
Yep.
But then she wants to come back and
just go back
to the regular, and to you, that was a turning point.
Something happened. I think it was a divine intervention. I just went numb. I went numb to our relationship. I went numb to everything, and which gave me the strength to just burn it down.
And what about your son?
He still was with my dad. My dad had always had him under his roof.
Oh, so
we just moved close to where he had a room where we were. He can come and go as he pleases.
I got you. So he was still with your dad, but you were.
But I was close.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a room at my house, and I raised him like a free child. Not feral, but he could make his own decision. Do I want to be here or do I want to be there?
Okay, so you left your partner, but you didn't. Nothing changed with your son.
No.
Okay.
No, he was still at my dad's. And then they moved over here to Spokane when I think he was around 8.
Okay.
So 2008, probably around the same year, I left and never went back. I went backpacking for 5 months. I sold everything. Went down to California, Sacramento, and backpacked with this gal, a gal that I had met, and we went through the mining trails. I mean, I was scared to death. I thought a bear was going to eat my head, but a few months into it, we'd drop into towns as transients and go to the food kitchens, or we would set out Craigslist ads to do yard work to make some money, and to live on $50 a week humbled me because I was freer with $50 a week than I was with big paychecks and walls of TV movies and 3 big screen TVs and game consoles and Comic-Con. I can't do that live Comic-Con. My ex-wife was definitely a Comic-Con person.
But we hadn't even got to the part where you're making the big money yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Because that comes after my humbled life. I didn't know that the corporate job was going to turn into a bigwig type situation. I thought I was just going out and making $175 a day, following flyers. So
explain that a little bit. It took me you kind of walked me through it, and it took me a little bit to wrap my brain around it. So
okay,
what were you doing?
So what the company did was put flyers on the doors of houses inside complexes.
For other companies.
The company would be a retained firm to distribute the flyers to the client's doors or potential coverage area. And the flyers would be indicative to what kind of area it is. So if it's a poor area, it would be more of Medicaid flyers. Okay, so
kind of strategically.
Right.
Yes.
If it's a prominent white neighborhood, then we're going to sell more high-end type things. If it's a Mexican environment or things like that speak Spanish, then we're going to put Spanish flyers there. I'll tell you, one time we had a distribution in Kentucky, and the ad was written in a way and there's a lot of English settlers there. And the way that the flyer was written, it was offensive to the English settlers. And we had to end up pulling the campaign. I mean, I'm telling you, they weren't very smart when they thought about this coverage area for this, something about the Reds coats are coming or something like that.
Gotcha.
So.
Oh, and they didn't think that was very funny.
No, they did not.
So you just kind of stumbled into this out of necessity. You're like, I need a job. I got to find something. So
got to find something.
So just backing up real quick, somebody said, I got a gig for you that pays $175 a day monitoring these flyer distributions.
That's right. My cousin had said, they're looking for auditors. And I'm like, well, I get to fly around, I get to and I was just straight off the street kind of a thing. I mean, I was looking like a gypsy hippie. I had a faux hawk, and I had 7/16 earrings, like big gauged ears and all these things. And I had to go out and buy clothes, and it was quite the shift. But, when in Rome, the more I started learning this job, the more, and the higher up I got in this company, I had to acclimate. So I had to go buy suits. I started getting my hair did. I started getting my nails done, just my toes. I never liked my hands painted, but I'd get French toes because, I don't know, just a lot of preening. And I had to fit into the corporate customs, I guess.
Sure.
So.
And how did that feel to you at the time? Did it feel unnatural?
It was gradual. It was very gradual. Let me tell you something. as a younger person, what made me more into it was you have a lot of power. You have a lot of control. And I was like feeding on it. I was seeing so many things that I'd never seen before. I was experiencing. I was in high-rise ritzy hotels and living in rental cars and airplanes. You know, it was like you become a persona, almost like building a mask, right? And it was fun in the beginning. But the more and more you become somebody else, you forget who you are. And so I was very lonely. And then I decided one night I was going to go get a bottle of wine.
Oh,
I know. Miss Addict over here.
Yeah.
But I bought the bottle. I got some great Italian food. I was kind of like rewarding myself a little party in the room.
Yeah.
And I was watching Margaret Cho on the TV, and I was dying laughing. So it was like it falling off your bed kind of laughing, and it kind of triggered something in my brain. So I just would start to drink wine every day. And it got to the point where I was very successful at my job, and I actually became a shark. Executing
when you say
easily.
you were drinking wine every day, because I mean, this could be pivotal. I mean, depending on how you handle it, you're like, oh, it's a glass of wine with dinner because I'm civilized now, or
exactly, that's how it started. And but I would never drink if I was meeting with the bosses. You know, I would stay straight for that. But no, it was like, it just got to the point where after work I would have a glass of wine while I'm doing my reports. But then it got to the point where I was drinking a whole bottle of wine. And then it got to the point where I was drinking a whole bottle with Xanax. And
so slowly
it slowly just kept getting worse, but I kept getting better at my job. Instead
of like the street drugs that you were doing before, now they're like
it's
civilized corporate drugs.
Exactly. Which, I didn't realize, because of course it sneaks up on you. And I was still executing this job like a boss. And I had a lot of respect, and so I kept it very hidden. But it got to the point where I was needing more reason to do it, the job. Okay. And when I got to the point where I was basically expanding this company's wealth, and we needed more auditors because we got more jobs, and the jobs just got more and more, and we needed more auditors. So I ended up training the auditors without a raise, without compensation for it. And that's where, it hits ahead. But let me start by telling you how I got to the top.
Sure.
Okay. So my first job out, I'm following flyers. I see that I'm supposed to check to see if the flyers were delivered to the doors of houses.
So when you say you're following flyers, there's like a big bunch of flyers that are all bundled together in a van, and then the boxes, and then the people, then the walkers take the flyers out of the van and go around and canvass the neighborhoods and distribute them according to whoever it is they're trying to market to.
Right. So we have marketing zones, and on the maps, it'll tell me how many flyers need to be dumped in this area, this area, this area, onto the doors of their house.
Gotcha.
So we have any crews from anywhere from 5 to 12 walkers, and we have one driver that's taking these people to these areas to distribute. So when I was taught or trained, we would drop into the market days after they had already started. And then we needed to somehow count these flyers, which was the first red flag for me. I don't get it. Why aren't we, how many do they start with? So it's a guess. So we have algebra all over the place. So on my first job on my own, I was like, okay, we're going to follow the flyers. I'm dropping in 4 days into the campaign, and I need to go back over the 4 days that he had delivered, which I could do pretty quick. In about a day, I can drive the whole area in question. But I kind of was like, how am I supposed to know if he did it or not?
So you're tracking these flyers.
I'm trying to. Now, we do have clicker data that will show us where these flyers, and since they were already 4 days in, I should have had the clicker data, but I needed to collect the clickers, download them for them to get that information. I did not have this information yet.
What are clickers?
Clickers are a GPS button where you place a flyer, you click the GPS unit, and it will download into the clicker.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yep.
So I don't have any of that data yet. And not until the end of that day when I collect the clickers and be able to download to give it to the office. Mm-hmm. So I'm running through this whole mapped out area. I don't see any flyers. I'm going to mark the street red. If I see a flyer, I'm going to mark the street blue. Now, this isn't a procedure that they wanted me to do or was taught. I just needed to figure out a way so that I can get a good ratio, you know.
And where would you see these flyers? Like
on the doors of the houses.
Okay, if they were still there,
if
people
they were
throwing them in the garbage or...
Well, we don't know if they're thrown in the garbage.
Right.
But if they're off of the door, I mean, obviously people are going to take it off their door.
Right. You know, like some people, what I mean is like people take it off the door and they're like, I don't want this. And then they just throw it off to the side and you find them on the ground or whatever. And
they probably wouldn't throw it on the ground at their own home. They'll take it inside and put it on the counter, or they'll take it straight to the trash, but guarantee it is probably on the counter, which they're going to look at it again, and then they're going to move it and maybe not put it in the garbage yet. Maybe they put it on their fridge for later. There's a really good chance that you're going to look at that flyer 5 times before it makes it to the garbage.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just trying to wrap
It's an
my head
amazing
around
marketing tool.
Yeah.
Just not very safe. All right. So if the house is vacant, if the house is for sale, you know, you should be able to see a flyer in the area.
Yes.
But I didn't see any in a lot of, like 75% of the area.
So where you should have seen them, you're not.
All right. And we're already at the last day before they're leaving. And we're supposed to be this is the last, well, the next day was going to be the last day of distribution. So I should have had like 75% blue.
Right.
You know, it's common. You can have red areas. It's common, but not 75% red.
Gotcha.
So,
forgive my questions.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I can hone it in a little bit more detailed, but we'd be here all day.
Yeah.
So basically, I learned that that it was a little bit harder than I was trained. So I just kind of thought outside the box. I connected with the driver. He was very defensive when I asked him about this red area, and then I was like, okay. You know, I called the office. I'm like, well, I've got 75%, so I'm going to go look for the flyers. They got to be somewhere. Now, these drivers are contracted. They get a certain amount of money to do the job, and they get the rest of it when it's complete. So you can see that it's kind of a stressful thing. If they don't complete their job, they're not going to get their profit. So they're trying to cut corners any way they can to keep their money and not have to use it. So by dumping flyers, that's less gas, or, there's less days in the field, and, but anybody that's frauding people isn't always going to understand the big picture that we have in order to be able to determine if fraud is happening. Now, I wasn't trained on how to do that. I figured all this out myself because if the campaign doesn't look good, then I don't look good, right? So basically, I had to figure out where the flyers were. So, at happenstance, one of the walkers was pulled over by a cop, gave the wrong name, and they gave him my name as the boss. And I went there and straightened it all out. And they had given the officer their hotel card. And so I looked up that hotel and there was only one. So now I know where the product is being stored because I don't know that information. I'm just in the market. So I knew from training that you were going to need to look in dumpsters and they could be dumping them anywhere. So I went to the hotel to find the dumpster there. And I found empty boxes inside the dumpster. And I went into the office and I told them who I was and what I was doing. And I asked them if I could jump in their dumpster. And they said yes. And then they came out asking what I was looking for. And I told them I want boxes like this, but full. Now, remember, this is the day we're leaving tomorrow. And they said that they are in their room. So I'm like, okay, that's great. Will you show me? And they actually did. They opened the door. They showed me there was 18 boxes sitting there the day before we're supposed to leave at 1,000 pieces a box. $2 a flyer, right?
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money sitting there. The fucking glory part about was that they weren't damaged, that they were still able to be distributed. So, with that, there was a lot of turmoil when they got back to their hotel. They were really scared of the auditor, me. But, through being able to disarm a situation, I was able to get them to open the door, only with a threat of police and theft of property. But they did open it, and we eventually got the product out of their possession.
And who were the workers?
Just Mexicans or Guatemalans. I don't know who the walkers are. They're hired by that company.
Right, because they don't want police showing up.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a whole nother story.
Especially now.
Right, especially now, that would be very detrimental.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically we're back on the road. We got to start tomorrow.
Real quick. So, I mean, what this guy did, or what all of them, pretty much. I mean, they were all kind of cahoots to go out there and pretend like they were doing the job just to leave all the product in the room. They probably know full well, hey, you know what? They should probably just be fired on the spot.
That's what they thought they were going to get.
But that's not what happened.
Right. Now, who do I work for? Not them.
Right.
I work for a client that's paying our company to do a job in a contract. So now we're talking about contractual liability here. So if I'm in the middle of North Carolina. The crews are all from LA. We have to wait for another crew to come. I'm going to make this guy finish his job.
Yeah.
Now, the product's still good. Yeah, you messed up. Yeah, you got caught. But what time are we starting tomorrow? Because we have to finish. You got to understand, we're on the same team.
Right.
Right? So disarm the situation, calm him down. It's okay, buddy. We just need to get it done. I'm not here to fire you. That's not my job. My job is to help you, our team, get this job done. So we started the next morning, and this time I advised him of a different manner in distribution, and he did use it. And then we were waiting 2 days, I think, for another crew to come in. So the 1 week job ended up being 2 weeks.
So the other crew had to come in
all the way from LA
to get it,
and driving,
because you're way behind now, because nothing got distributed.
We needed to get it done fast because we're in a contract, and the contracts and sales that go on are in a time frame. They need that distribution to be done in order for 6 months later for them to get the sales reports. It's really all bottom line stuff. So when it came down to it, I downloaded the tracker information, the clickers, and we did have clicker data at the houses that were all red, but yet the flyers were sitting in the hotel room. So they were actually walking, clicking, but not distributing because they were overloaded. They're loaded 600 flyers all the time. It'd be easier just to walk.
Yeah,
thinking that they were going to be able to remember, these people are used to the auditors not being around. Right. So that job changed the face of the company right then and there, because I went home after that job and I sat down and I rewrote what we need to do to prevent that from happening again. And I wasn't expecting them to take it and run, but they did.
So you changed the face of the company by doing that.
I mean, in my opinion, yes. No other auditor did that. And in meetings after that, I would just slide my suggestions. I'm not like I'm going in there and saying, you need to do this. No, I'm like, I wrote this. Tell me what you think. Because I really think that if we change this, and this, and this, that we're not going to run into this problem again. And I wanted to make my job easier. And I really didn't want the drivers to be scared of me either. So I just wrote the program, changed it, kept it, we need to keep everybody tight. The drivers really, really appreciated it. They saved a lot of money because, it's so much more stressful to fraud than it is to actually excel in an easier procedure, and with not being scared of the auditor as well. So all of the auditors that I trained, it was psychology first. First of all is respect. You're going to treat them with respect and encourage them, not demean them. And
because as an auditor, you kind of in a leadership position.
Kind of, but I didn't want them to feel that way.
Right.
We're on the same page. There is no hierarchy here. By putting a hierarchy in it, you're going to make somebody feel inferior. If we're on the same team, that's a different ballgame. It's called morale.
Yeah.
You're creating a morale that is enjoyable versus a fearful one.
So how were all your suggestions received by your higher ups?
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well, because they started seeing results.
Because money talks.
Money talks, right? And they got bigger and bigger. And within 6 months, within that first year, actually, because these campaigns take about 6 months for the numbers to come in and for them to rehire. And then the word got out. And next thing you know it, we're dropping 1 million flyers in every city across the country, on the millions.
How is your has this been lucrative for you? I mean, as you've definitely had an impact.
I didn't really care about the money.
Yeah, but did they offer you more? I mean,
no. No, they never offered me more. But then I was told that if you don't ask for it, they're not going to just give it to you.
Right.
So I did ask for it, and then I was turned down. And at that point, I pretty much got to the point where I was like, look, my contract is 20 days a month. I will not be working 25 anymore. And I want 10 days at the beginning and 10 days at the end of the month. And I want the time off in between. I started becoming very non-pliable for them. I mean, I wrote that program. I got a lot of appreciative comments and really was looked at as a really good part of the team. But I wasn't worth it to them to give me more money or a label but I did all these things because pride, I think.
Well, yeah.
I really take pride in all the jobs that I do. And the fact that I was able to turn that company into a Fortune 500 was enough. It was enough, but it wasn't enough for me to be killing myself for. So if they weren't going to give me what I asked for, I gave them a chance, but I ended up just walking away.
So in the end, you just weren't, you were contributing a lot. You were recognized for your contribution.
And I had an alcohol problem.
Yeah.
Because, I had to drink to drown out the anger or the resentment. It just got to the point where I was getting burnt out too. Jumping on red eyes, running to the airport at a drop of a dime. You have a campaign, flying to Alameda, California, even if I'm in Florida every weekend. I mean, I was living in planes and I was living in cars and I was living in high-rise hotels.
Did you at least have the pre-check thing, the TSA pass, fast passer?
I don't think they had that then. I mean, this is back in 2009, 10, 11. This is quite a while ago. So I don't think so. I don't think they had that then.
Okay.
And if so, I don't know why I wouldn't have. But I had miles out my backside, that's for sure, on almost every airline.
Yeah.
But after that, I just hate flying. I can't do it. It triggers me bad. I don't like flying anymore.
So all told, how long were you doing this job before you decided enough was enough?
From 2009 to 2011.
Okay.
Didn't take long. But
was there a final straw?
Yes, there was, because I was supposed to go and we were having a company-wide conference, and I was supposed to fly in to train. And my immediate boss, who didn't like me very much, he didn't like me because when he would train to be an auditor, he was actually training to be my boss, and I did not know that. And I was kind of a tough trainer. I'm going to give you instruction because it's a fast-paced game. And I told him, don't ever let a walker or the driver out of your sight. One or the other, at least have one in your sights, because we have to count at the end of each distribution day. Well, I don't know what he was doing for 2 hours, but he wasn't with a walker and he wasn't with the driver. And so we lost the driver and he turned his phone off, his tracker phone. So we didn't know where he was. No end-of-day count, right? So he got in my car because he didn't follow directions and because he had his own car. He's tracking a team and I was tracking like 4 teams. But I called their boss and I made them turn their tracker phone back on so that we can do a final count. And when we got to them, they had not even a rip of a flyer, not even nothing left in there. But I did see a round table pizza. They must have gone to eat because they were gone for 2 hours. Where the hell were they? Right. So I basically made this guy jump in every dumpster in Alameda looking for those flyers.
Did you find him?
No. No, he didn't. So ever since then he really didn't like me that much. He thought I was probably too bossy or too much of a shark. I mean, because I wasn't bending for nothing. It's a shark game. We will chase the people down to get those counts because they have a lot of money sitting in their vehicles.
Now, didn't you say you had to teach defensive driving?
Yes, because, well, basically, I created a defensive driving program to where I trained them on Garmin's. You know, we can't put a route in to find a person who's trying to evade us. So I had to teach them how to drive on a Garmin in 2D, meaning you just have to drive through the map, which is a skill. You have to learn a skill, but we have to be able to block them off to be able to stop them. Because if they run out, they can go dump whatever they have left and we have no proof of such, right? So yeah, it was, I mean, we've had some knockdown drag out races, man. The first thing first is if you have a walker, stop your car by your walker. He's not going to leave his walker in market. So that's why I was telling him, you know, don't lose a walker or the driver. If you can't find the driver, you have a walker and he's going to be there eventually.
So anyway, you called this guy out.
Yeah, I called him out, but I didn't know he was going to be my boss. Nobody told me that. And then next thing you know it, he's my boss, and then he puffed up at me. He didn't like me having the control I had because he's supposed to be the boss. But when we're in meetings and the CEO and the president of the company is asking me about my auditors, not him, in time it like ground him down, like he just hated me. So he actually knew how excited I was to do that. And then he just said, no, you can't leave market because they have 2,000 more flyers to deliver. I'm like, this is Roger. He's the owner of 22 crews. Like, he can be trusted and you know that. But he took it from me. That was the last straw. And I wasn't going to have it anymore.
So then you just said, I'm done. I'm out of here.
I went home after that job and then I set those parameters that I'm only going to work 20 days and I want it split so I can have the middle of the month and good time off. And then they sent me to the next job and I went straight downstairs and I started shooting Patron and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this job without drinking. 1, 2, I don't want to do it anymore. So I got in my rental car and I drove home from San Francisco and left. I never went back.
And that was that.
That was that. Pushed me to the edge. Now you lost your best auditor. They also sold the company and didn't tell us either. And they had got rid of my cousin, who was the distribution king. He's the one that would go out and train the crews how to distribute and everything. They got rid of him. And I knew I was going to be next anyway, because when corporate sells, they gut or they'll just split it up. They went off and the owner went off and bought some other company in Florida or something like that. He made millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, very rich.
Well, good for him.
So that was the end of that.
So you drove home.
I drove home.
And so was that
never looked back. Spokane. Actually, Idaho.
Okay.
Well, no, I didn't have a house, you see. I didn't even have a car because I was working all the time.
Yeah, you drove around in rental cars.
There was no sense in for 3 years not, pay rent somewhere you're never there. So I would just come back to my father's house here in Spokane and spend time with my boy when I was off. So at that point, I went to Idaho for a while because I wanted to unplug. I didn't play with computers, or I just unplugged and got off the alcohol and got clean. And
did you struggle with that, or was it once you were out of the element?
Actually, I put it down like I never picked it up. And then that's not very safe to do. Because you can actually get really sick.
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that until I got sick. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was a high functioning alcoholic, and then I just stopped drinking. And it was anxiety, a lot of, I felt like I was dying, but I didn't pick it up again. So
you just kind of powered through it. And
yeah, it took a while, but then I think that's when I started gardening. I started gardening in Idaho just by myself, growing food. And that was the beginning of my journey to homesteading. And then I needed a job, and I left Idaho because the work you're going to get was more in Spokane. So I went and rented a place in Spokane, and I put the Craigslist ads out, and then I met a larger company that does landscaping and sprinklers and things like that in Spokane. And they found me on a job site and found out that I weed garden beds by hand. And they started selling me, and I just got super huge. And I ended up getting all the way up to having like 15, 20 employees. And it just blew up in my face, accident. Oops.
I had a good problem to have.
That's what people say, but it's not their problem.
Right.
It's like managing 20 people, the youth in Spokane, you actually need like a babysitter. It was super stressful. And, the company, the written part of this company, or the ability for this company to be very big, was unmatched. We're organic. We don't do anything with chemicals. We simulate Mother Nature, and we have the monopoly of being a specific weed removal company. So but it got to the point, I've been doing this is the 13th year I've been doing it. And I'm pretty burnt out. So, so I basically have closed that main company. I made that decision after this election last year. At that point, I knew that if I was going to remain in business, that I needed to really downsize. Because one, having a big corporation costs money. There's all these different entities you have to pay. And if your sales just bottom out, how are you going to pay these things? So at the last 3 years, also, I was watching my company go from a $300,000 gross company down, just with the taxes going up and me not raising my rates because we're already expensive. It just kept bottoming out, and it just flopped. And so I closed it. I closed it this winter. And I'm now doing a smaller get up with minimal clients, maintenance only, and some extra jobs on the side. And just having one or two people help me, because I'm shifting into retirement. Which brings me to 2019 is when I bought my homestead. I was burnt out in, I guess, what year was that? By 2018, I was pretty burnt out. I needed like a huge change. I had actually hired somebody to run the company for me, and I moved to Alaska for a year. And I was trying to figure out what homesteading looks like. And I thought, hey, being out there, secluded, land's cheap, all these things. And that was an experience. I don't suggest it for very many people. It's not really.
Especially not there.
It's not. It doesn't work. I mean, it works for some. But
what is homesteading? Explain that.
Homesteading is living off of your own. Well, I guess what would you call it? creating your own ability to live without the outside world, without needing to have a store or... Now, I don't have any farm animals. I'm a master food gardener, so food gardening is really my niche. And I would rather go vegetarian than kill anything that's alive because I can't kill things. And I don't think I ever would. I'd probably get chickens, but, I'd just eat the eggs and that's it. I mean, I'm not full vegetarian, but so homesteading is basically building your own world without needing the government, without needing outside resources. I have a well here, so my water's free. The last thing I need to get is solar panels. And I'm not meaning the type that hook up to a Vista. I want my own solar panel. And then you're 100% not paying to live.
Right.
Which was the reason why I chose to do homesteading in the first place. I didn't want to have to pay money just to live. I wanted my money to go towards something that I wanted or needed, but not something that just to bed your head down and feed your body. And, all that's free. It just takes hard work. So I bought a piece of land for $65,000 with a house that was basically condemned, built by a man and his wife back in 1984. And I've been remodeling it now for 5 some years and it's still not done.
So you're doing everything on your own?
Everything.
And you grow everything on your own?
Yep. I can my foods. I do whatever I need to. I'm not saying that I don't go out and buy things still, but, if I had to, if the world burned down right now, I could live. Right.
No drinking?
No drinking, no drugging. I don't even smoke marijuana. I grow it, but I don't smoke it. It's just, it's a fascinating plant to grow. It quite amazes me. There are plenty of people that would take the stuff off my hands if I not sell it, mind you, just give it away for people who make, friends of mine who make like tonics, or skin cream stuff, they don't use it to get high. They use it for like aches and pains and things like that. I'm not a scientist, so I can't really do that part of it, but I can definitely grow it. But no, I don't do anything that would alter my mental state. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Right.
So what makes you happy?
Gardening.
Yeah.
Growing up, my gardens make me happy. Yeah, I'll take you out there after this and I'll show you. But growing food, it's like its own ecosystem. I have the hummingbirds who suck down my 4 feeders every single day, even in a half a day. So I'm constantly caring for them, caring for the plants, touching them, checking the leaves because I'm organic. I don't use any pesticides or anything. Just when you have a good ecosystem, you have good soil. There are good bugs that counteract the bad bugs. Like just the other day, I do videos on TikTok to share my experiences and the experience of the experiment of a plant and also the insects. So there's a spider that I found, which was really interesting. It has a red butt, and he's a jumping spider. It's the largest of the jumping spiders in our area. And what that spider does is it eats the aphids and kills all the... It is said that if you have this spider in your gardens, that you have a very healthy ecosystem.
So he's your friend.
Yeah, all insects are... I don't even kill bugs. The bees will fly right around me. They'll even land on me. It doesn't matter.
I noticed that at my house. A bug kind of came over and landed right on your forehead. And, most people are like, you swat the bug off and you just kind of, you almost kind of like helped him. I thought that was interesting.
Well, I'm a gifted empath. So I feel animals and insects and I feel humans more, but I can feel the plants. I can feel everything. And when you're quieted, being quieted is a different world. Backpacking taught me what quieted was. I was actually scared of bees when I was backpacking. I was terrified, But one time we bedded down at night, and when we woke up, there was the most amazing hum. We were right by a huge beehive, and we had to like tiptoe out of there. It scared the crap out of me. But after that, I learned to become one with nature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't kill bugs, so I don't get bit by bugs. I've gotten bee stings, but I don't have any immunity. I have an immunity to it. I don't get any issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a different way of living. But the world is so crazy and staticky that people get used to the hum. If I go to the west side now, I can feel the ground move.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel that here.
What do you mean by that?
The vibration
of
all the
people.
And I can feel it, and I can't stay over there for very long. I'm so quieted that my energy will get affected by it.
So when you're at my house, you mentioned, you said something about the American dream. Mm. And as we've discussed, like as I've listened to your story kind of unfold and where you are now and kind of your state of mind, and what are your thoughts on the American dream?
Well, there's a couple different versions of that. What we've been taught, society's dream.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
The big picket fence, 2.5 kids, and a big house and a couple cars, maybe a boat. That's the American dream that we were raised with.
And if you work hard.
If you work hard and go to college, you'll get this big paying job that's going to pay for all these things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think a lot of people know that is not feasible, mm-hmm. and hasn't been for many, many years, maybe back in the 50s. Mm-hmm. Sure. But the true American dream is the pursuit of happiness, right? Mm-hmm. So the pursuit of happiness, and, asking people what makes you happy, some people would say money makes me happy. Okay, so let's dissect that. Why? Because money gets you stuff, right? Things. Well, I have found that society's way of being is showing that happiness is what you have, not who you are. So if you have a nice big house, mm-hmm. if you have a nice brand new car, and you have all the status you could ever want, but 9 times out of 10, they're more miserable than when they got started. One, because they're indebted to the bank. Mm-hmm. Now they're stuck in a job that they can't quit because they owe all this money. It's like a prison. So I didn't find that to be practical, and I watched people do it, and quite honestly, I had never taken a loan before, mm-hmm. and I didn't really want to either. So like I said, I sought out land for cheap, and then I just built from there. I didn't know that I was going to, I woke up 5 years later and goes, how come I have all these stuff? But stuff to me is sheds to hold my tools to tend my land. Mm-hmm. Stuff is business stuff, or stuff is tools, hand tools, practical things.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. How can you think it's okay to get a loan that's going to take you 30 years to pay back? Mm-hmm. Oh, they say, well, you have an asset. I'm like, yeah, until the market drops. So I was just getting out of the corporate world right around the time of the recession.
2008, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just got into it was 2008.
Just got into it, that's right.
Right. But I was making a lot of money mm-hmm. up in corporate world.
Yeah.
It didn't affect them. Now you can see why there's a disconnect between corporations and middle people, mm-hmm. right? We feel it down here. They didn't feel it at all. They were getting richer. Mm-hmm. Much richer. Right. So quite honestly, I had that experience, so I understood. A lot of people don't get that experience, but I never knew where I was. I was such a gypsy. I would move all the time. I never wanted to stay in one place, and 30 years to have an asset paid off. And even then you can sell it for a fraction, or, mm-hmm. These are modern houses. You can't really improve much to them. But if you buy land mm-hmm. that needs improvement or doesn't have any development at all, every improvement is an upgrade. Mm-hmm. So right now, my place could probably sell for about $450,000, and I bought it in 2019 for $65,000.
Well, you've done some good work.
Well, it's just all practical stuff. The tiny house was for my dad because mm-hmm. he had a few strokes. This house has just been remodeling as money comes in. Obviously, you can see it's definitely not done. But, most of my money would go into my gardens, new soil or building this or that. But a lot of my money just was sucked up into the company.
Gotcha.
Right.
So you told me, what makes you happy? What's fun? What do you do? What do you enjoy? What do you do for fun? Like
hiking.
Hiking?
I like to go to the highest peaks. I like to feel small because I'm so big in my own world. You can forget to be humble. But if you go to the highest peak and you step out into that opening, you automatically are small. And it reminds you of who you are and what you are to this planet. No matter how high up you get into a corporation, all the control and power you can get, it never humbles you. It makes you feel big and powerful and strong. But quite honestly, nobody wants to feel that all the time. They want to let go. Let your hair down. Let it go. But when you're stuck in that grind, you can't. So you are no longer living in your moments. You are living for the next deadline. And you can't get out of it. The true feeling of happiness and fun is to be able to live in your moments, because it's in those moments that your puzzle pieces start to connect. Those moments when you're doing nothing but being there is when the epiphanies happen, at least for me. So all of your experiences brought together into one big puzzle, but you're not going to remember all of them, and you probably couldn't if you tried. But then there's going to be the one experience that you have that's going to send you all the way back. And then that moment, the epiphany happens where you can track that puzzle piece all the way back to your childhood. So if you are in your moments, you can actually comparatively look at yourself and go, look how far I've come. That's humbling. I was grinding and grinding and grinding, and all of a sudden I look back through my life and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have lived through hell and back. I have lived through things and experiences that most people would never come back from. But I keep restoring myself over and over and over again, changing who I am and growing with the times and experience that are put before me. So gardening helps me live in my moments. Just to sit there. And even now I get a little too busy and I need to remind myself to slow down, because I'm always grinding for the next job or having to do this, and I burn myself out still. I'm ADHD. It's just going to happen, I think. But my goal is to get to the point where I can retire fully by next year and start doing some greenhousing stuff and just play at the farmers markets. That's my next dream.
So as you look out in society and you see everything that's going on, what advice do you have for the kids, like our youth?
Chart your own path and build it yourself. I would learn trades and start your own way of making money to fund whatever dream you have. Don't get caught up in contracts. Don't take loans. Build it from the ground up. And learn everything you can about how to feed yourself, how to cook, how to clean. I mean, if you want to talk about the younger kids, I was cooking at 4 years old. My dad had us up there making our own eggs and, all these things. And I raised my son the same way. So if the shit hits the fan, he knows all of these skills. And then you build on that. Don't go to college unless it's degrees aren't going to help you at all. Experience helps you. Work multiple different jobs. As a business owner, for as long as I've been a business owner, I've owned a couple. I was actually a contractor for that marketing company, not an employee. I would hire somebody who had 10 million different jobs in a matter of 5 years than I would with somebody with a degree. I can't teach somebody experience and hands-on experience with a degree. In fact, I found them to be the least beneficial. And even when I was hiring in that corporate company, I'd rather you have 10 million different jobs because this is a hands-on job. This is a think outside the box job. And if you can think outside the box, you can build anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
Those degrees, they just put you in debt. And then you're stuck in the rut that they want you to be in, a little machine, to feed the economy, to keep it running, because your payments are going to keep it running. The more loans you take, the more this process works. Trickle-down economics does not work. Build your asset, your family's asset, from the ground up. Buy a piece of land. Put a little sturdy shed on it and turn it into a home. Build your own home. Build it up, let it increase in value. And if you're ready to expand into something else, you sell it. Now you have a bunch of cash that you can go and buy something small again. I always tell this, okay, so if you bought a piece of property for $65,000 and 5 years later it's now worth $450, go buy another $65,000 plus 5 years later it's now $450. How long would it take for you to be an asexual millionaire? Not long at all. Right?
So what about the people that have already embarked on their careers, that have already, accumulated, they did the things that they thought that they were supposed to do. So like, okay, there's me. I finished a career and I'm retired and I know exactly what you're talking about. And then the people that they're still in the midst of it, no matter what it is, whatever their job is. What would you tell them?
So you're basically asking me what I would give my advice to people who are already stuck into the cycle.
And
are a slave to the system, the banks, and everything like that. My advice is, if you have a nice house, if you have all these cars, my advice would be downgrade. Sell your house, go buy land, build your house, because you're going to have all that money, pay those debts off, sell the house, the debt's paid, done. You can get a little bit of property, or maybe you have a lot of equity. I don't know. But do you need all that? Or are you stuck in the mental capacity of stuff is power, stuff is happy? Minimalism isn't something you just stumble upon. Minimalism is a choice. And usually it happens when you're so freaking tired and you can't do anything about it. That's what I decided to do.
So I think that I realized that, like when I was younger and like in the midst of my career, and don't get me wrong, I loved my career. It was exciting.
I have uncles that were in the fire department all their careers. Yeah,
it was fucking awesome. And, but it was cool to me, especially like I'd watch, I stumbled in, I bought a house. It's all right. I'm going to be here for as long as I can be here. I'll handle the mortgage. And then I ended up with a cabin on the lake. And then I needed a boat. And then I got married. And then we needed more shit. And now I got a big house with a pool. And then I realized, like, I've got so much shit.
Well, what could you be doing with the money that you were spent on all those things? If you didn't have those payments, what would you do with the money you have?
I would have traveled more. I would
have, or can still.
Oh, can still. But see, let me get there, Angela.
Okay.
But that's the thing. That's what I realized. Because like, I realized a couple of things. First of all, I don't need all this shit because I'm not finding that that's what makes me happy.
Nope.
I'm finding that I have more shit. I have to spend more money to take care of my shit. And I have to spend way more of my time maintaining my shit and fix the shit that's broken. Just like what I told you about. I was like, why I was late today. I about blew up my pool pump. And I'm realizing that my happy spots are just, like you said, are just being quiet and reading and being with my family or taking a trip. That's what makes me happy. And at this point, I like my house. I'll stay there for a while. It's almost paid off. It's cool. But I'm not discarding anything that you're saying, but there's an awful lot of truth to that. I'm finding so much more happiness without the shit.
Yep.
So,
well, the more stuff you have, the more money goes out.
Yep.
So if say the economy was to fall and you don't have any more money coming in to pay for all these things as they're needing it, what would you do instead? Would you sell everything? And if you could sell everything, maybe just keep your cabin and just retire out there. I mean, that would be a very quiet existence, I'm sure. But you know, the question is, why do you keep your stuff now? What does it do for you?
It doesn't, like I told you, the stuff doesn't do anything for me, but I have a family, and my wife, she enjoys the cabin.
You have kids at home still?
One. So.
How old?
14.
Okay.
So
when she turns 18, maybe things will be different.
When she turns 18.
Or keep it as an asset to pass down to your kids.
Possibly, yeah. So I mean, what I'm saying is, like, I don't feel overwhelmed with this stuff. I just realized where my happy places are. I have pretty good control over my stuff, so I'm not like drowning and spinning my wheels and everything else.
Okay.
But
so when you advise your children, do you want them to do the same thing you did or take a different route?
I'm gonna have them take a different route.
Yeah, because why be owned by the bank?
Yeah.
When you can own everything you have without having to make payments every month. You know, to what? So it can gain interest, and you're paying 3 times as much as what it's worth. Instead, buy a piece of land outright. It's yours.
Yeah. Build
on it. And every single thing you put on there, now you have an asset that increases in value, not decreases, and you have no interest.
Well, and in the big picture too, is like, I'm realizing, like, we live in a capitalist society. Every single thing that we do revolves around money somehow. I mean, just had an episode with a doctor who explained very nicely how insurance companies inserted themselves as the middlemen of our medical care, our healthcare system, and now the entire healthcare system revolves around insurance companies. I mean, that's a very good example.
Right. So, do you want to know how I get around that?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's making the right choices. Eating your own organic food, working your body, and every time you build muscle, you generate new cells. I haven't had a cold in over 15 years. I don't get sick. I did get hit with COVID. That's a whole nother ball game, though. Sure. But I don't. What I did was I chose to be a weightlifter. Mm-hmm. I chose to eat organic food. I chose to leave the candy bar at the store. Mm-hmm. I chose to not eat processed food. I don't go out to eat. And if I do, it's very rare. Sure. So by doing this, I'm taking care of my health 100% to where that is not needed unless, say, I have an accident. Mm-hmm. I don't need insurance, but I have it. But I don't have to pay very much at all because I'm healthy. Mm-hmm. So life insurance plans, that's a joke. Don't fall for it. Just basically build your assets on your own. You don't need any of that stuff. This is all a conditioned world, capitalism. Do you think I live in capitalism? Hell no.
Yeah.
Nope. I have this truck right here that I'm going to sell. Put the money away.
Yeah.
You know, if the only thing I have now is my truck that I have to make payments on, but it was a 10-year gift from me, from my company. Mm-hmm. But right now I'm in a scramble to pay that off.
Right.
My goal to be retired is to have zero debt, and you need to have zero debt. And then you can just go from there, find a need. People are going to need organic food, plants to grow their own food.
Have you seen the Netflix documentary called The Green Zone? The Blue Zone.
The Blue Zones, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Most amazing thing. My grandmas were well into their 90s when they died. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to live well over 100.
Well, I hope you do.
Oh, yeah.
So walk me through it. So the components of the Blue Zones were regular, like, natural exercise. Like, there was the community in Italy that they walked, their whole town was just a series of hills that they walked every day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The food that they ate was, whole food.
And organic.
Whole foods, organic, high nutrient, non-processed.
Lots of teas.
Uh-huh.
And wine, but not abused.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, to me, what I thought was most compelling about the Blue Zone was, what was the last component? Their social interactions. The social circles.
Joy.
Yeah. The joy that they had with their families and social circles.
Right. Most people don't know what joy is. They think of fun as joy, but that's different. Joy brings you to tears. And I know this because I learned it about a year ago. I had never felt joy my whole entire life until I found a level of contentment and spirituality in myself and what my whole world was built on to get me to this point. Joy is not fun. Joy is a movement that brings you to tears. It overwhelms you, that you could be that happy that it moves you in your entire body. So when they're with everybody and they, they're laughing, they're doing all this stuff, but they're laughing till they cry. That's joy. It's the one component that I'm missing is community. But that's why I want to retire and start my greenhousing and grow plants and sell food at the farmer's market, because those are my people.
Yeah.
I don't have time to do anything right now. I'm working, but I'm working to reach a goal. And I'm making sure that I damn well will retire at 46. How many people can say that?
Yeah, not too many. And I think you've done some really interesting stuff, and you've made some really interesting choices, and the way you live your life now, I think it's absolutely fascinating, and it's really cool.
You just got to be willing to work. Yeah. That's all.
And they do say that that's part of the American dream, is if you can work, if you're willing to work, but
depends on the work.
You just kind of put a little different spin on it. You mentioned spirituality. Will you share with me a little bit about your own personal idea of spirituality? What does that mean to you?
Well, I was raised Mormon. That's not spirituality.
I didn't,
right. I'm going to tell you what it isn't before I can tell you what it is.
Please do.
I was raised in the Mormon church. It was very traumatizing. In my teenage years, when I was getting clean, I had searched churches to figure out, what it's really about and how I can find solace or joy or spirituality in that. And I failed everywhere.
Can I stop you just real quick? It's funny that you said that, because my last episode that I just recorded was with a couple who escaped from the fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints, grew up in a little Mormon church. So, disclaimer, I didn't know any of this. This is not I'm not looking to go after the Mormon church or anything.
No. It's dogma, it's conditioning, it's ceilings and walls that you can't penetrate. It's narrow-minded thinking, it's control, it's power, and that to me is the furthest from spirituality. Spirituality is free-flowing. As I said, I was a gifted empath, and I know things that I really shouldn't know. I'm clairvoyant, and a little bit psychic, and reading people is what I do. That's why I don't often let people touch me unless I'm close with them. But until I found spirituality, nothing made sense. Nothing made sense. I was lost. But when they started explaining, I found a spiritual advisor who's also a gifted psychic, and she's also a minister. It's a different type of church, but without the dogma. I started watching her online for quite some time, and everything she was talking about just started making sense. And I realized that I finally fit in somewhere. There's answers for why I know things when I shouldn't know them. I had an experience when I was 24, and I truly feel like I had surgery, and I'm pretty sure that I was lost on the table for a while, because when I woke up, I was a completely different person. Thoughts, anything. My body was different. My hormones were different. Everything was different. I was 200 pounds when I went under.
Really?
And after I came out, I dropped to 110 and then stayed skinny. I'm about 130, 138 now, but I'm all muscle. my hormones changed, my nails got hard, and then I started knowing things. I could predict movies, and my clairvoyance got super high. I can do the flashcards. I know what's behind them, all these things. I just know things. So I know this is a little far-fetched for most people, but spirituality to me is borderlining neuroscience. It's borderline spirituality meets science. It's not easy to explain, but spirituality for me changed my whole world. I then was able to love myself beyond anybody else. My shadow work and, the traumas that I was holding on to fell away. Because when you get a sense of understanding about who you are as a person, it took about three years of being out here alone for me to actually work through all of that to realize who the hell I am. Mm-hmm. Because all of this stuff on the outside falls away, and then you're just left with you. Some people will say that stick a person in a cabin, they'll go crazy. Yeah, sure will, but not for very long. What you got left with is after you go crazy, you actually learn who you are. Mm. And then after that, you have some foundation to go off of. And that's why I'm still single, because I find so much joy with myself. Somebody's going to have to really step that up. Mm-hmm. Right? So I always say you better be shitting diamonds because quite honestly, you got to add to my joy, not take from it. So spirituality is something that somebody needs to come to on their own. It can't be taught. It can't be gifted. It can't be threatened. In a book. What?
It can't be threatened.
It can't be, well, definitely not. But spirituality is individual to everyone. Their explanation is going to be as unique as mine was. I understood and I was able to take all of my life, go all the way back from the very beginning and say, okay, you should have imploded there. This horrible traumatic situation should have broke you. And now there's reasons why it didn't. Spirituality is the unseen, the unknown, until you reach a point in your life of all these upgrades. Every time you have an epiphany is another step to your spirituality. Mm-hmm. That's why they call them spiritual awakenings. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in this society right now, they're calling it woke, which is not a derogatory term. It's actually a compliment. The more you know, the more you understand the world you live in, understand the person in front of you, yourself. So spiritual awakenings are epiphanies. Is when you take that one puzzle piece and plug it in. Do you know that I can count over 25 spiritual awakenings in my life where I've become a completely different person every time because of the experience I had during those spaces? Mm-hmm. We live in a spiral. You're going to go up and you're going to go back down. You're going to go up a bit. Your spirals are going to get longer if you're stuck in a rut, or it's going to spin. And mine just tends to spin because I just keep learning. Mm-hmm. The secret to life is education, not book smart, experience education. Taking things apart, putting them back together, being curious, learn, experience, go travel. I hope you do. Get out of here, son. Get out of here. Of course, go within America first, because it's not safe really to go anywhere else. But I would really encourage you to get out there and see things that you never thought you would want to see. Or and I'm not talking about going to resorts. I'm talking get your ass on the trail. Go backpacking. $50 a week. I challenge you.
Well, that's a tall order. It would be.
I know, right?
If it was just me,
that's
I might just take you up on it. But part of the reason I wanted to do the show is to take my shit with me and go meet people like you.
Yeah, glad you did.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that part of the reason that I wanted to have you on my show is because when I met you, you had a very distinct presence. Mm. And as I got to talking to you, I was like, this woman's got some stuff to share. And you did. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate you being willing to do it and to be as open as you were. So thank you very much for being on my show.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything
I hope
else?
people take away some of these tips.
I hope so too. There's some good ones. And do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, it's painful. Don't let the pain scare you. Change is hard, but it opens up new doors. Take the walls down, take the ceiling out. You got to be open, but I'm not going to say it's easy. It's hard, but that's a life worth living. A hard life. Work is easy. Work is hard, but it's good work. And you'll get the benefits in the end. It benefits. Believe me. Trust me.
I do.
Okay.
First, thank you very much, Angela.
All right. Thanks.
Well, that'll about do it for this episode of The People We Meet. I'd like to take a few seconds for some shout-outs. First, to my main man, J-Mac at Studio 42 Recordings for his audio prowess. Second, to my family for putting up with my recording shit scattered all over the dining room table and for stopping to talk to random strangers wherever we go. And last, to my listeners. This isn't a big show, so it means a lot to me when somebody rolls up to me and says, "Hey man, when are you going to have out some more shows?" So if you know someone who has a story that just has to be told, drop me a line at thepeoplewemeetpodcast.com. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next time.